Hey, everybody, Kevin here with Pursuing Pixels, and welcome back to another edition of Save It for the Cast. And you know the drill by now. As per usual, I'm going to be kicking the ball over to John, Randall, and I in just a few minutes here. I'm going to try to keep the intro on the short and sweet side here because I've been doing quite a bit of gaming, but I've just been doing more dabbling than diving into anything on the deeper side. And I feel like that's kind of how the conversation goes here. It's all video game focused, but we just kind of jump all over the place, just all over the map for the conversation coming up once I kick it over to the three of us, just for some kind of Xbox Game Pass stuff, some cloud gaming stuff, a little bit of John's Steam Deck, some Baba's used spin-off games from the developer over there. All sorts of video game stuff coming up. And then I guess some of the stuff that I've been playing lately, some of the stuff I'm going to probably save, maybe like the mathier games. I've been playing a little bit of Super Algebra, which is the newest game from the Punk Cake folks. And I actually checked out their other most recent game too, Hexel. But I think I'm going to save that. And then this other game, Tens, that I've been playing quite a bit of on Switch. And then while I'm talking Switch, I've been playing quite a bit of WarioWare Move It, which I just scooped up. Although I think I want to save that too, because I know John, Randall, and I all are pretty big, or I guess varying degrees of WarioWare fans all across the map, all across the different games. Although I will just say I'm enjoying the game so far, but I do feel like WarioWare on the whole just lends itself to being a better handheld franchise than a console franchise, I guess. I don't know what else to call it, but or how else to say it, but yeah, I'm having fun with the game still, but and I'm looking forward to trying some of the multiplayer modes and stuff like that. But some of the stuff that I have been playing and that I did want to talk about briefly here before I kick it over to John, Randall, and I is some of the stuff that I've been playing on Xbox Game Pass lately. I have really been itching to kind of spring for getting an Xbox Series X, especially because I've been doing quite a bit of the cloud gaming, which I guess we did do talk about a little bit in the conversation coming up here too. But one of the games that just came out recently, just the other day, I fired up Go Mecha Ball, and I was really pumped for this game. I've been seeing it in development for quite some time, and it's just polished up so much ever since the initial snippets that I saw in action, although I will say those look super buttery smooth too, but this is just a really awesome top-down twin-stick shooter, more of like an isometric camera view, but it definitely just plays like a top-down twin-stick shooter. Reminds me a lot of Assault Android Cactus and like the style and the gameplay even a little bit, but it's definitely pretty heavily like Sega and Sonic inspired as well, because you basically play as this like cat in this mech suit that you can like turn into like a, mecha ball, I guess, hence the name of the game, but turn into a ball and then do this like basically Sonic spin dash that has like a cooldown timer on it, but you can like bash into enemies and then bashing into enemies to do, kind of melee damage to them. But also every time you do that, that's how you pick up more ammo. And there's all sorts of different guns, and the game does play out in a roguelike fashion in the sense, or roguelite fashion, I guess, because you do get a currency that you then get to go back to the main hub zone or after a run or whatever and unlock some new weapons or abilities or upgrades. So there's like, big ground pound slams that you can unlock. I just unlocked some new mines. Obviously, you can just upgrade like your overall health and power. I've only played maybe 5 or 6 runs or so, but the soundtrack is just absolutely slamming. Like, I'm absolutely loving it. And I will say, for such like a fast-paced, frantic game, we talk about it a little bit again coming up here, not to be a broken record, but playing this via the cloud, although I will say there's like a few stuttery moments visually, like where it's like, buffering or whatever, which is, a little bit annoying, I guess, but it just is what it is playing on my Xbox One here. And again, it's just making me want to spring for that Xbox Series X. I would have thought for sure that this game would have been, being that it's kind of an indie release, like, oh, it's going to be available on, kind of thought it was going to be released on Switch and everything. And I was like, oh man, it's only on like the current gen consoles and whatever. So, and you can kind of see why. I mean, the game is just so fluid and fast paced, even playing it again on the cloud, it just, plays very responsively. I'm still just endlessly impressed with how well that works in spite of the visual, like, buffering and glitches or whatever, but just such a fun game. And I really just love like the spin dash mechanic and like these kind of diorama isometric levels. It's just such a cool, unique twist on like the isometric shooter. And I really do love that, like, I don't know, it feels so inspired by Assault Android Cactus. I could be totally wrong about that, but I don't know, just something about it really reminds me of that game a little bit, the energy of it, and just that little bit of like a Dreamcast flavor. I don't know, it definitely has some Sega energy to the game. But definitely really, really recommend this one. I'm really looking forward to playing some more of it. And then another game that I fired up shortly after that is Rollerdrome, which I actually fired up on the cloud a little while back, and it took a long time. This is the first time I saw the message pop up where it said, it's the server's really busy right now, so it might take a minute or two longer than expected or something like that. And then that particular time it like booted up and there was no sound. I thought maybe it was like a quiet, intro thing going on, but then it got to like the tutorial section. I was like, this doesn't seem right. So I only played for like 2 seconds and I was like, you know what? It's early in the morning here. Let me fire this up and see if maybe I'll have better luck this time around. And didn't have that waiting, extra timer for the server being busy or anything like that. And then was able to get right into the game. There was sound right off the bat. It was kind of like an understated, mellow, kind of 80s synth vibe to the soundtrack in the opening bit, but still it definitely lent itself to like, getting me sucked in right off the bat. I kind of intended to just like fire this one up and see if it worked real quick. And then the tutorial, that's the only thing I'll say is the tutorial is a little bit on the long side, but it's kind of easy to see why, because the controls are a little bit complex. And by the end of the tutorial, it's like almost throwing a little bit too much at you at once. Just in the sense of like, I don't know, there's just a few too many extra buttons and it's not necessarily immediately intuitive, like not the buttons that my brain is like, oh, that's what I would expect. And basically you're playing like this is basically like an inline skating, like Tony Hawk style game in the sense that it's, going up vert ramps and in these like little skate park arenas. But then you're also like playing a third person shooter. It's kind of like a roller derby or demolition derby kind of hybrid situation. You're just like, basically getting into these arenas. And then after you get through the tutorial, you just have to go through, and this is from the developers of Ali Ali World, to the best of my knowledge. And it's got that really great like 3D, or I guess the Ali Ali series, but the way Ali Ali World has that like 3D cell shaded pastel kind of look to it. This game has that as well, but it's actually a full 3D game as opposed to Ali Ali World is more of like a pseudo 2.5D situation. But this game is really cool. Again, it took a little bit of getting the hang of, but it's got some bullet time slow-mo, so you can be like grinding by and basically doing tricks. At first it seemed like, okay, well, why would I even bother doing these tricks? But doing tricks is actually what like refills your ammo, and it gets a little bit repetitive. I've only played through the first like 2 or 3 stages, and again, each stage is like almost like it's very arcadey in that sense where you're like trying to like beat a high score or do a certain, there's like a bunch of different challenges on each stage. So there's tons of replayability in that sense, but there is like an actual story mode. Like you're in like the, you start out, it goes into like a little first person mode and you're in the locker room, but otherwise the game plays out in third person. And the controls take a little bit of getting used to. It feels like it's maybe a little bit inspired by like the Jet Grind or the Jet Set Radio series. Just in the way that like you steer, like you just have to press forward on the joystick and then you're just automatically moving forward. But it just takes a little bit of getting used to, but I'm definitely looking forward to playing some more of this one as well, especially like the last couple like enemies that I took down. Like you just have to clear, however many waves, and there's snipers, you're dodging their attacks at the right timing. It just, I don't know, once you get into the rhythm with the game and the controls, which again, I only played a little bit of, so I feel like I was just starting to scratch that surface. I really think this game is going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to playing some more of that. And then just very briefly as well, because I forgot that I had this downloaded on my Switch already. I must have like done the pre-install or whatever when I saw that it was coming to Game Pass and then just forgot about it. But that game Sea of Stars, which is like kind of like I don't know, it's not a sequel, it might be a prequel, but it's a totally different genre of game, but it's from the folks that made The Messenger, which we talked about on the podcast ages and ages ago. Both Randall and I really enjoyed that game, although it definitely kicked our asses as well. I think Randall actually beat that one, but I never saw that one through to the end. Or I might be thinking about Cyber Shadow now that I think about it. I might be mixing those two games up, both great kind of 8-bit, 16-bit inspired ninja platformers that came out around the same time. But anyway, Sea of Stars being like kind of like some kind of set in the same universe of The Messenger. It's like a top-down RPG kind of set in that, or you're inspired by that 16-bit era, Chrono Trigger. And that's the game that it immediately reminded me of, just in like the sense of like the lushness of the pixels. And I'm not the biggest RPG player, but I really love when a game like Chrono Trigger, for example, has like the enemies right on the screen. There's no random battles. And I don't know if that's going to be the case. I only played this game for maybe 15, 20 minutes, got to like the first save point. But really just thought it was kind of fun, like a fun world to get sucked into right away. It didn't have a long, overdrawn out beginning, although maybe I'm playing through that right now. I don't know, but I'm like getting right into the action. It does have some like timing, Paper Mario style attacks where you can press A to, land your attack, do a little extra damage, or, get a little extra boost if you release things at the right time, or if you, block an attack. But I like how in the instructions it just says, or when you're like reading the how to play section in the game, it just kind of says, yeah, this is just like a bonus. Don't think of it as necessary, but obviously it's going to make the game a little easier if you're landing those extra blows and whatever, or getting a little extra healing or whatever it might be. But this is another one that I'm like, if I'm ever in the right mood, this seems like it'd be a fun one to fire up for a stream and just kind of like relax and, plow through a good chunk of the game. But I'm really excited to just fire up some more of these games on Game Pass. And like I said, hopefully get myself an Xbox Series X here sooner than later, because I just really would like to the cloud gaming is working pretty well. I did notice a little bit more of that visual glitching while playing Rollerdrome, being that it's like a full 3D, a little more action. I guess I shouldn't even say a little more action packed, because Go Mecha Ball might be more action packed than Rollerdrome, but nevertheless, Sea of Stars I was just playing right on the console. But it would be nice to just know, like, hey, I'm just downloading it, and like Randall's always talking about jumping from tab to tab or from game to game, if you will. So yeah, I'm looking forward to playing some more Xbox stuff, and obviously some more Switch stuff, talking some of that with the guys next week, digging into some WarioWare, but or maybe not next week, but next time we sit down for a session. But anyways, enough rambling. And no, I said I was going to keep it short and sweet, and I did the exact opposite of that here. So I'm going to kick it over to John, Randall, and I for the rest of the episode here. And until next week, we'll catch you then, and take care.
I got the old Puzzle Bobble Every Bobble game for Christmas, and I'm excited about that.
Nice.
I'm playing that a little bit.
That's physical copy?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. I snagged, I got a Switch gift card for $20, and I was like looking around. I picked up a few like $2 cheapo games recently, like not with a gift card or whatever, but I was like, okay, I've been sitting there. I recently almost picked up that Lil Gator game for $12 when it went on sale. It looks very short, hikey.
Yeah, visually, yeah.
Yeah, and even like it looks kind of like gameplay wise, even looks kind of jumping around, kind of like has some Breath of the Wild light style mechanics going on, but it just looks real cute and charming, and the movement looks really fun and expressive. So I picked that up, and then I picked up that Bleak Sword DX game. Are you guys familiar with that game at all? I think it was originally an Apple Arcade game, and then they like released this DX version as on consoles or on Switch or whatever. The main thing I know is Jim Guthrie did the soundtrack, and it just has a really cool 1-bit style. And when it came out, I remember a few people talking about it and going, this game is freaking amazing. So
who's Jim Guthrie again?
He did that Super Brothers,
nice.
Whatever soundtrack. He's done a few other games over the years. I'm trying to think what else he's done, but that's the main thing I can think of him from. So yeah, pretty good stuff. Did you guys see, I haven't seen this at all or played it at all yet, but I saw it just today. I hopped in the Discord to catch up real quick, because I obviously haven't been logging in a ton with getting the move and stuff ready and whatnot. But Turd Boomerang had posted that the Baba Is You developer just released some kind of tactics game.
It was like into the Baba, or it was like Into the Breach Baba.
It looks very Into the Breach style. Yeah, the art style looks amazing. It's like they just crank out all these free games. Like if you go to their itch.io page, they have not a million, but a ton of free games that are all kind of Baba themed spin-offs.
Wow,
that rules.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool that they just keep cranking stuff out like that. I kind of wonder, I feel like if they're doing that, I almost feel like they have another project that they're maybe working on in the background or something. But
yeah,
it's gotta be
for revenue.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be such a good way to do quote unquote drip marketing, but just to be present in people's minds is put out little tiny micro games.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be great.
Just keep your branding front of mind.
And then when you come out with a huge full game out of nowhere, seemingly. Yeah.
Got all that consumer sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Man, I feel like you could almost like go that route, like just do like participate in some of the big game jams throughout the year and like kind of gather a following that way.
Yeah.
Not to say that this is easily done or anything, but like, make a few cool games and like because it does seem like people really like latch on to some of those game jam games. Like it's crazy how many, even still on Switch, I'm like scrolling through the new releases and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember seeing this game as like a game jam thing or like as something else. And then, oh, now it's like, gotten polished up into a full, little indie release or whatever.
Yeah.
Just so cool to see how many of those keep, churning out. Even like stuff from like years and years ago.
That's
Pretty
sweet.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I did want to do like for a little save it for the cast. Like, so the reason why I was late was because like usual, I misjudged how long a run would take in a roguelike. And I was going far further in Hades than I was anticipating.
Nice.
But goddamn, what a lovely game. Like, I've been replaying all of the games that I've been replaying on Steam Deck, like Hades. Like, I'll go more into Lonely Mountains Downhill, but like Control and Doom 2016 in particular, because this is the first time I've replayed Control.
Yeah.
So like, it's no longer a fresh game that I'm exploring, but something where I'm like hitting the beats kind of in the same way that like I've replayed Doom 2016 a couple times, but like now when I'm doing a Doom 2016 run, I'm like, all right, can I get every single challenge on the first time that I'm doing every level? And
nice.
like I've memorized these levels because that's how I play games. And like, I'm going to get into it on the full episode is that like, I love learning a map and I love like really internalizing it. And I'm like starting to do that in Control, which is at one side like a little sad because like the game is supposed to be disorienting and like
it morphs your space.
But like me, I'm just like, nah, I know your tricks, game. I know this hallway isn't real. Like, and it's
that's an interesting point because even like like an obvious example is like a movie like The Game or something where it's like once you know the twist or any like Shyamalan movie, it's like then you rewatch it, it's like it's like well made and everything, but like, well, I don't know about the later Shyamalan movies, but like so I've actually never seen any of his movies, I don't think, but regardless, I don't think so. I've never seen the early ones like Signs or I forget what the other big one was, Sixth Sense, I think.
There you go.
I never saw either of those, and then once you like kind of know the twist, I'm like, well, I know what it is, so like now I don't have any dying desire to see it.
Right.
And the fact that he's continued to churn out kind of pretty subpar movies for the last like 15, 20 years since then doesn't have me like clamoring to go like catch up.
Yeah. But I'll say like Control holds up, even like knowing all of its like weird parts of it, like just as a good, I don't know, I really like high mobility shooters, which is also why I'm replaying Doom 2016.
Yes, and why you talked about boomer shooters in the past. Yes.
Like, I just love being fast and like being able to do a lot.
Well, it's so funny though, because I always think of you more as like I want to like you're gonna play more like kind of heady, thinky games or like quirky games or story-driven games. So like when you're like, I'm going for Doom 2016, like for all challenges on the first run, I'm like, damn man, John is like a hardcore gamer. I forget that sometimes for some reason. But I don't know why, because you obviously game like probably more than any of us.
Oof. But like, at least like with Doom, it's like learning all of the like, I don't know, scripting of a level or like the limits of a level where it's like especially with the challenges where it's like, oh, you have to perform like this many glory kills. And in my head, I'm like, there's only 4 of those enemies in this entire level. So I have to nail it. And if I don't, if I miss 2, then I have to like either restart the level or play it again. And like, then there's all the like weapon, like I'm such a sucker for like 100%ing or like leveling up gear.
Yeah.
So like, especially in Doom, when I'm like, ooh, can I like get this weapon? What is the fastest, like most efficient way I can 100% like doing the like slowest speed run possible, basically, just trying to like figure out the most optimal path in a game.
With those
speed grinding.
Like the fastest or the optimal path stuff, is that stuff that you like to just all find yourself? Like you like to poke at the edges and figure it out yourself. You're not like Googling like what's an optimal path. You are spearheading that yourself to find that optimal path.
Yeah, every once in a while, like once I've like exhausted a game like Metroid Prime, that's when I start like looking into like speedrun strats and
that makes sense.
See is like which one of these exploits can I do, but like with Control especially, it's my second time playing the game. It's like, ooh, like I'm just like trying to be like, well, I don't need to go here immediately. Or it's like, oh, I'm wasting time if I'm grinding and leveling up before I unlock these mechanics. Whereas like Doom 2016, like I'm at the point where I've memorized like the first 3 levels or so and like know where every like secret is of right off the bat. But like once I get to the later levels, especially since all the levels take so long, it's like once I get to the later levels, it's like this is still kind of the third time maybe I've played this level, whereas like the first one I've done like easily 20 times because it's also a great way to grind out like weapon statistics.
It's good level design too, for that matter.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I've played only I think I played just like the first level or 2 of that game, and I was like, this game is pretty sweet even right off the bat.
Yeah.
So it's one I need to play more of.
Yeah.
Especially since they're still on Game Pass, I believe.
Yeah, I still haven't even booted up Eternal yet.
Same.
Like it's on
Same.
my Steam library, so I have it, but I'm still trying to like I don't know, like break in the Steam Deck by playing these games that I know really well or
Kinda
whatever.
Makes sense.
That actually makes a ton of sense to like get used to like the settings, get used to like that kind of stuff.
Button
You can like
layout.
kind of learn that stuff as opposed to like if you're just playing a new game you've never played and just thinking like, okay, this is busted.
Too many variables.
It doesn't work right or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, like it's the first time I think I've had a second thing with cloud save because
Oh yeah.
when I put Steam on this computer, like the last thing I had played Steam on was like my MacBook from 2013 or 2010. Like there was no cloud save back then, so I was starting every game new, and like this was the first time where I forget even which game it was that like I booted up between playing it on my computer and playing it on Steam Deck, and I was like, oh, that's just there. that's really nice. That's
awesome.
A really good. Oh, so I'm gonna be so sad when Nintendo doesn't have that for the Switch too.
Oh my god! Don't you dare!
We know what to expect.
I was thinking about that as I was like unpacking my physical collection and like buying even these cheap games on sale. I'm like, why? Why am I even buying?
I know.
I don't know what I'm doing.
I know, man.
But fingers crossed.
Dare to dream.
Fingers crossed. At the very least, I can upgrade to an OLED someday and pretend like it was worth my while.
That OLED screen is real nice. It is.
I do kind of want to get one. I didn't end up springing for any of those Xboxes just yet. I was thinking about it, but I was like, I kind of need a few furniture things. I was like, I don't need to do it right this second.
Yeah.
But it is annoying. Like
you can find furniture on the side of the road.
No joke, especially when I'm driving to work in that area, like over in Birmingham. I'm like, people are throwing away some nice stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So now that I got an empty car that I can load up and fold down the seats, it's like, okay, what are you throwing away today, guys?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I did check out this other place too. It's called Restore. They like similar to like Goodwill or Salvation Army or whatever, but they donate to Habitat for Humanity, and they had some pretty nice stuff there for some pretty reasonable prices. So I was like, might have to head back over here for sure.
We furnished a lot of our stuff in the house from a place like that out here, which was awesome. And you buy $100 worth, and they like buy a bed for folks that need it too. So it's like
cool.
You get it from both angles where like I'm buying this cool like antique thing a lot cheaper, and
Yeah, and they do a
cause.
good job of, like, my parents said that, my mom said she donated some stuff to them, and they were, like, real picky. Like, they were like, we'll take the table, but not those couches.
Oh, geez.
Like, you know, they're like real picky about, like, we want what we want. We don't want a bunch of junk. Like, they actually come out. You got to send them pictures. Then if they actually think it's worth their while, they'll come out and look at it, and then they'll come pick it up. So it's like, they don't just have junk there. I mean, you know, it has some blemishes, of course, but, like, nothing. You know, I definitely saw multiple things where I'm like, man, if I had my place a little more together and knew more what I needed, I would have walked out of there with some stuff. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of looking forward to that too. Grabbing some of that junk.
The Xbox stuff will be back on sale at some point, ultimately.
Yeah, right. Definitely. But it is kind of weird how, like, I will play stuff on Xbox One sometimes, and I'm like, man, I feel like this runs almost like worse than I would expect it to run on Switch, or like a game that I just wouldn't expect to run poorly at all. Like, you know, it's just like a 2D whatever game, and I'm like, man, why is this like chugging?
Is it Games Pass?
It is Game Pass stuff, but not like on there you can actually download them to the console and everything. So I'm not like cloud gaming or anything.
Weird.
For most of them, there are some like that aren't Xbox One compatible, and then you do have to download those to or play them on the cloud or whatever.
Right.
And I'm actually always kind of surprised. Like, I almost default to that lately because I'm like, that works better than downloading them for some
could see
games.
that.
So
yeah,
which is crazy, but just thinking about how that cloud technology used to work, or like gaming over the web or whatever it was, streaming.
Shoot, I just hooked up our old Xbox 360 with the Viva Pinata
faceplate, yes,
plate on there, just to play like the old version of Rock Band, and that sucker still functions. So
nice.
Yeah.
I just unpacked my 360. I don't know if I'm probably just gonna pack it into a box for now, but like I was like, considering I never was able to figure out my password for like that version, I still have all those old
content at that point.
Well, I still have all those old I have like the classics like Braid and Castle Crashers and Meat Boy and all that stuff, but like I have all those like what were those called? Those like indie arcade games.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Geometry Wars?
No, like even more indie than that.
Yeah,
they were like these like 99-cent games or like 50-cent games. What were those called? Like at Indie at X? No, that's what they call them now, like ID at Xbox.
It was
I forget
something
what they were
like
called.
that.
Like,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I had this game called, like, the main game that sticks in my head is this game called Applejack, but I just remember like playing a ton of those games. It's like a platformer where you could like basically just like a 2D side-scrolling arcadey platformer, like kind of in the vein of like an OSAT games platformer, like those kind of stages. And I think if I recall correctly, you could like shrink into an apple and then like roll on the ground or something. I don't know. But that game was just a lot of fun, like good level design. But what were those called, man? It's gonna drive me nuts.
Xbox Live Indie Games, I guess they just called it, or Xbox Live Community Games. Looks like is what Wikipedia is saying.
Community games rings a vague bell because it was like I remember it being like a thing, like you could download like the XNA software, and then like anybody could make a game out. It was kind of like proto game maker, kind of like it was kind of like an easy-ish to use software.
Yeah.
Was it really just community games? It might have been. That does ring a vague bell.
Xbox Live Indie Games or
I bought a
ton
ton of those though.
Yeah.
Like there was another game on there, Shoot One Up. Do you remember that one, Randall?
Oh,
you would like get a bunch of like ships and they would keep multiplying and have you'd like have like a bunch of ships. They actually released that on Switch. That's the only reason that game came to mind, but I'm pretty sure maybe it was just a regular Xbox arcade game, but
no, I don't remember that.
I think it was called like Shoot One Up DX or something like
that. Definitely
that.
Remember Applejack though.
I don't know. What do we feel like, or what order do we want to chat about stuff in tonight? I've got my 2 Wizard pinball breakout style games. I was looking at my list. I was like, these are kind of paired together. I'm not going to go too deep into either of them, really, but I've got those 2.
I got Lonely
What do you
Mountain
got?
Downhill, Lonely Mountains Downhill, and Monster Hunter World.
Nice. I
Okay,
got the
nice,
Super
nice.
Mario RPG.
Nice.
Yes, I'm very curious to hear about that. I've almost
Same.
snagged that a few times.
I'll say some words about it.
Beauteous. Got to clear that cache. I was dying when you said that earlier. Got a game I've been meaning to clear out of the cache.
Dude, like, yeah, I don't know. Like, part of my brain is just like, I need to keep this fresh in my mind. I haven't talked about it on the podcast
Yeah.
yet.
I know.
I was looking
Exactly.
I was looking at the list on some of my stuff. I was like, oh man, I haven't even talked about this. But I was like, maybe I'll save it for the cast. I'll figure it out later.
Yeah. I will say, I did boot up Ollie Ollie World the other day and was not impressed.
Uh-oh.
But I'm still in the very early stages. So I think it starts a little slow.
Interesting. I do remember it being a little tutorial-y, especially if you like already know how to play the Ollie Ollie games. Like, come on, let me just do some flip tricks. Come on.
But even then, I was just like, you know what? I want to see. I want to get refreshed. I want to be like put back to speed. And then I'm like,
I'm trying to remember.
Pushing my buttons.
I don't recall having that experience in the early goings, but I was streaming it and kind of hanging out. I don't know. Sometimes I can change the feel flavor.
I've also been like only playing games that I've played like a million times. So
Yeah.
like it may be like, I'm learning a new thing. I don't
it's like
using
familiar, but how much did you play the other Ollie
this.
Ollie
Not
games?
very much at all. Only the first.
Okay. I was thinking you played a little bit of two.
No. I don't
okay.
even know if I
'Cause
own
it-
two.
I definitely don't.
Two is great. I ended up buying that collection. Speaking of rebuying games, I ended up buying that Switch Stance collection on Switch when it went on sale at some
Nice.
point. Even though I have 1 and 2 on PlayStation, I guess.
Yeah, I've got it on.
I don't know. I haven't. When was the last
Steam.
time I fired that thing up?
Yeah, you'd want them on a portable thing.
Yeah.
Those sort of games.
Yeah. But it was like, at this point, it's like Ollie Ollie World is my go-to of that. I really should actually get those DLCs for that game, because if it's literally just more of that game, like it sounded like it was just going to be like 2 more worlds of levels. It's like, I really should just get that, because it's just more of some of my favorite stuff. So
Yeah, I'm definitely going to do that with Lonely Mountains Downhill. I know they've got some DLC on that.
I got there were a couple free DLCs, and I think I did crack and finally buy the DLC too on Switch, because I was just like, fuck, I just fucking love this game.
Yeah.
I need to have every element of this game that exists.
But like you're saying, like I just want more. I just
Yeah.
I just want more.
Yeah, like
of
it's
this.
so good, and if it's on this level of production and quality, I'm in.